Grazie. Io rapidamente
Thank you. Very briefly, I shall try to sum up the work we've carried out in this mixed group, the Conference of University Chancellors and the community here, to try and see what's happened over this year, and especially what we think will happen tomorrow. Today we are speaking a great deal about positive economy. We're talking about positive university. And this morning already my colleague, the Chancellor of the University of Bologna, expressed a notion that is very dear to us. The university is in itself positive because it represents a factor of growth and development of society. A 1,000-year-old institution. We frequently forget our history. Italy was the cradle of Western universities. In over 1,000 years of history, with all the changes that have occurred, the university has still retained its role as an element fostering growth in our society. It means that our universities are resilient. And this resilience has enabled the university to navigate its way through change and to be part of the future and to be a protagonist in the future. What do we expect of our universities today? What does our contemporary society expect of universities? We are used to universities that are institutions of training and education that creates skills, builds skills, that does research and invents patents. But universities have got to be more than that. They are an agent of transformation of society, both individually, because they enable young people who are talented and willing to work their way up the steps in society. But unfortunately, the social elevator nowadays tends to be not working very well. People get discouraged. And so tertiary education is still very much a class-oriented reality in our country. Those whose parents have degrees tend to go to university and the others tend not to. And increasing the level of education of all our young people, we can foster a greater tolerance. We can forge strong citizens, the citizens that are essential to a democratic society, a society that knows, that has innate defenses against totalitarianism, against racism. Right now, with these great juxtaposition of different ideas and religions in our society, this role of universities is especially important. But there's another factor, very important, the potential for economic growth that universities can foster. All of this has changed in recent years. There are two key words, two elements today that govern innovation. The one is called open innovation, and the other is called knowledge sharing. So major ideas are no longer born in closed places, but in open settings where there is the contribution of lots of talents, of students, of researchers, places where there is a positive melting pot. Universities are the place where that occurs. The example of Silicon Valley or Bangalore are, of course, the most important examples, but today the greatest innovations occur within universities. And those countries that will be capable of building and strengthening these huge positive ecosystems will be the countries that will produce innovation and will benefit from the potential of growth and employment. Today, the majority of employment for our young people is in innovative businesses. Another factor which is related to the new positive university is the capacity to be a balancing element. We have talked about rebalancing in society, but also in a territorial balancing. Where there is university, we create development and investments are attracted at a time when the gaps are factors of instability and injustice. As Attali was saying this morning, we in universities have a very important role to play. We can become stabilizers. We can keep the balance in a system that is increasingly imbalanced. So these are the major functions that we must try and play in society. But how do we do this? What are the steps? What is our roadmap for the future? What does our government, our society, our country expect of us? And what does our country need to do for the future? Well, today, competition is linked to human capital. More education, education of a higher quality, and a more widespread education that targets more people in our society, which would foster the growth and the social role of each individual person. Unfortunately, though, sorry to have to admit this, but in the past decade, Italy has invested nothing in skills. We have the lowest level of any OECD country in investment in education. We have a percentage of graduates that is amongst the lowest. It is incredible considering the cultural tradition of this country. So we've got to reverse this trend. We've got to extend admissions to university to a wider base of young people. We've got to reduce dropouts from universities. We've got to meet the needs of our young people. Our young people today are asking to be given skills, to be taught skills that are useful in the world of employment, in the world of jobs. We need a more professionalizing degree courses which will enable young people who are more practical-minded to benefit from a university education. But this process has to be very well oriented and guided, properly guided, because we've got to train our young people, providing them an education which is, of course, job-related, but which must allow them the development of a critical capacity in this world in rapid change, allows them to be constantly updated and renew their skills and abilities year after year. People who graduated in the 1950s had a baggage of knowledge, a treasure box of knowledge, which was probably sufficient for the rest of their professional career. Nowadays, you have to have an update after 5 years of your degree course knowledge. Another important topic is soft skills. Those who today graduate from university do not just need curricular skills, but also must be capable of problem solving, of working in a team, of adapting to change and the complexity of life in the current day and age. It's not possible to teach these skills with a traditional frontal teaching. We've got to include in our curricula experiences. These experiences must be linked to the job world, of course, but also, we believe in this very much, in this rationale of a civic university, a university that trains not just scientists, but trains citizens. So experiences that are linked to culture, to art, and to the traditions And this, we also talked about this yesterday afternoon, this is a new idea. Experiences like San Patrignano are also going to be an ideal place for our young people to have internships and learn from experiences like this, the meaning of togetherness, of community, of working together, of collaboration. And now, to conclude, there is one last important point that I want to mention, which is the topic of creativity. Today, we are witnessing an economic transformation that is so overwhelming that it could be almost compared to the economic boom of the 1950s. The huge Italian economic boom was born out of the creativity of the small and medium enterprises and the big companies in the 1950s that multiplied and created a system of SMEs that was then the backbone of Italy in the 60s and 70s. Today we have a different scenario. Today, the new business is the result of innovative startups, of spin-offs, and it is born thanks to those same researchers and talented young people, those ideas that develop in technological settings. So we need also entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial skills. Those who graduate from our universities must be capable of selling themselves and their skills as well, and therefore they will need experiences along these lines. They will need to be able to become new entrepreneurs, and we as universities will need to train these people. So these are the major challenges. And what are the limits right now? What are our hindrances? Well, the main limit is investment. We need investment in training, in skills. We need to invest in our young people. This is investing in the future. This is thinking positive, as it were. We also need to improve the contribution of private investments to our university sector. Imagine greater, more innovative tools like crowdfunding, social bonds, more creative investment tools. And one final consideration linked to a topic that was addressed when we were talking about positive economy: cities. Cities are the places where universities live. What is the relationship between the cities of today and tomorrow with the universities that they host, and which frequently are the decisive element of the life in that city? Here the interconnection becomes even stronger, even closer. This becomes a greater opportunity, but also can be a critical element. Territories that can attract more talent become richer. The territories which are not capable of retaining their talented young people become poorer. It's desertification of the cities when the talented youth leave. In a country like ours, which is a country of the 1,000 municipalities, the differences which are our points of strength, we must learn how to govern these differences. We need to make the right choice. We need to be far-sighted. We need to have a vision of the future. And we need to have goals. What are our distant goals that we've got to reach towards when we think of positive economy? Obviously, the issues of sustainability, inclusion, inclusiveness, growth, shared growth. So, and here I come to the end of my speech. If I can summarize what the program for the next year is going to be: university of quality for all, greater excellences in our universities, but an excellence which includes all those with talent and with energy. Thank you, Professor Manfredi.